So today we're going to be reviewing a popular video that's gained some traction on the internet. It's from the Gemini and Scorpio podcast. Apparently a young lady says she ain't putting out because dude didn't buy her daughter's Happy Meal. So let's get into it. Let's just get right into it.
From a man's perspective, tell me if this is just way out of pocket. And this is why we talking prenuptials and shit. On the first date, I had to get my daughter something to eat before he took me out. So I was like, can you run me by the McDonald's real quick because I'm running behind, woo woo. We get to McDonald's. All she got was her classic, a milkshake, 4-piece nugget, and a small fry. When the lady at the window asked for the bread,
he's like, where's that?
Yeah.
Nigga, you said run me through McDonald's real quick so we can, yeah, nigga, you gonna pay for it.
McDonald's. I'm sorry. Okay. I think that's the already. That was the first problem.
That ain't no problem.
At that moment,
That's your problem.
Look, and it was at that moment. Now I had the
You
bread,
could've paid for the.
and I even asked him did he want anything. But look, it was at that moment that I knew you were never getting this pussy.
Because he ain't paid for your daughter food.
Fuck you on the first
Okay,
date.
so honestly, I ain't gonna lie to you. My boss one year knew I was having a sleepover for my daughter. He was like, "Oh, that's what you're doing. I'll order her pizza."
That's why most of relationships they cheat on you. That's why most relationships they cheat on you with somebody at work because of shit like that.
No,
I'm gonna pay for the daughter. Yeah, I'm gonna pay for all that.
White man.
And I'm pretty sure you want some young pussy. What you mean?
Well, you were paying
I'm
for
gonna tell
it.
you what
She
it
wouldn't
is.
have
I'm
to
gonna
be
tell you.
looking for him.
I was single at the time, but I'm gonna tell you what
No,
it
I'm
is.
just saying
No, I get
hypothetically.
what you said.
I will fuck your boss up.
From a man's perspective.
All right. So, man, it's a lot to unpack with that one. All right, so the first thing I want to draw attention to and notice is that notice how she spoke with like an audacity and this air of just like that she was just completely right and that anybody that disagreed with her, like it was something wrong with them, like that they was in the wrong. And notice the disconnect between the men and the women. Like the one gentleman seemed like he was staying quiet for the most part. The other dude, he was the most vocal about it. But that's the first thing that I want to kind of draw attention to, the disconnect between the men and the women, both, not even on this panel, but just as it pertains to this issue, it seems like. So she starts out with, right in the beginning, how did she say it? Because I was running late, I had to get my daughter something to eat before he took me out. So that's red flag number one right there. Why hasn't your daughter eaten yet? Like that's your number one priority. Why isn't the number one priority the number one priority? Like, you know, that's a deal breaker right there in and of itself. She tries to minimalize what the issue was, right? Or the order that she got for her daughter. She said her daughter got a classic. She got a 4-piece nugget, a milkshake, and a small fry. Okay, if that's all it was, why didn't you pay for it? Without looking and expecting for somebody else, i.e. particularly the man, to pay for it, right? For all we know, he could be thinking, this isn't my child, this isn't my food, I didn't even want to come here. And then she went on to say, which probably is the most ridiculous part of, you know, the dialogue. She says she knew right then and there that basically she was never putting out. Right? Okay, man. And okay, right? And then see, but on a more serious note, this is why a lot of women struggle with relationships, right? It's because of stuff like this, right? They put value on things that in the grand scheme of things aren't really valuable in terms of being in a relationship with a man. And then on top of that, they attributing value to these things, it doesn't have any bearing on what type of man this man actually is. So basically him buying or not buying your daughter's Happy Meal has nothing to do with the type of man he is, the type of integrity he may have, the character, any of that. But yet you equate his willingness to buy or not buy the Happy Meal to what exactly? That you just know that you'll never put out? Okay, and that's a sensible evaluation to a lot of women. I may or may not have paid for the food. Depending on, so you know what would have done it for me? It would have been how it was delivered, the delivery largely. And if there was a sense of entitlement and expectancy, forget the testing, forget the nonsense, forget the the mental games and the psychology, right? Just if you just ask me straight up in the beginning, I'd have been more than willing to pay for it. They make bad decisions in relationships because they put false equivalences on stuff like this, on what this young lady's talking about. But see, there's a larger issue at hand too, right? It's the fact that this young lady thinks like this and she's able to get this off. And by get this off, what I mean that she's able to function like this, you know what I mean? With this mentality in the dating world, right? And if you don't believe me, I mean, look no further than the video. And I'm sure there's other men, young men as well, who are gonna watch this video, and y'all have encountered a young woman like this, especially in these modern times. And so where does that mindset come from? That mindset comes from society and feminism, you know, doing a successful job of placing women on a pedestal, you know. So essentially a lot of women believe that because just by the virtue of them being a woman, which I don't know if it's a virtue, but you know, you get what I'm saying. Just on the basis of them being a woman, that they are the prize and that they should be pedestalized and get, you know, any and everything, the special kind of treatment that comes along with that, right? Which I'm not saying we don't look after women, but at the same time, we'd all have to acknowledge it's gotten way out of control, right? Look at this young lady. She's relatively attractive. She's not bad looking. I'm sure this young lady gets all kind of attention on social media, especially. She gets attention from guys everywhere she goes, and I'm sure on social media she gets DMs every day. And see, that's another thing as well. As to any man watching this, any young man especially, I would encourage you to do what's known as the fake profile experiment. Okay, I've seen the results personally. All right, it's basically where you take a picture of a woman, right? You just make a fake profile, something like Instagram, Tinder, whatever, and just gauge the reactions that you get, right? And it's an interesting experiment because you as a man, you don't get to see that. You don't know what that's like. Man, listen, some of them get 100 a day. Some of them will get more than that. So as you do this experiment, and if you do this experiment, I mean, shoot, you can just probably look it up online. But you'll be able to see how many messages that they get, and you can start to understand the psychology of people, like, you know what I mean? Anybody, if you were just constantly bombarded with this level of attention. You know, it's free attention and validation. And it's different from the point of where back in the day, you know what I mean, we used to have to, you know, holler at chicks, you know, on the street, especially since COVID-19 and all this stuff is happening. Everything's online. All dating, I think they said Instagram is like the #1 dating site or something like that. So everything's online. Everything's all digital now. And what we have out there also is a lot of thirsty men. And yeah, a lot of you men watching this, a lot of y'all is thirsty. You know what I'm saying? And that's just, you know, I'm not here to play. I'm not here to lie to y'all. Just gotta tell you the truth. It's a lot of thirsty men as well. I mean, how else would they get all of this attention, right? So, you know, this is where all of this translate. What is my point? What am I saying? All of this translate for a lot of women. I'm not saying one size fits all. It's not a one size fit all thing, but you better believe it's a lot of them, right? It translates into this over and infatuated sense of ego and self-worth, and, you know, even attractiveness. Even when I say worth, I'm talking about the worth on the dating market, you know, obviously, right? So this is what it all translates into. So, you know, men, you know, for any young men in particular, any young men watching this, I want to say this to you. When you're a young man, most women that you're attracted, especially ones you're attracted to, are going to be out of your league sexually and as far as an attraction level anyway, because you know how women develop faster, and that there on the dating market, that's their value essentially, is their fertility, their youth, and their beauty, right? If we're just going on just what's on the table, right? As a man, as a young man especially, you don't have much going for you as a young man. So what am I saying? Focus on yourself. I know men my age and older men who still chasing tail around to this day, and that's not a good look. You do not want to be a middle-aged man still chasing around tail, you know, putting women on a pedestal and doing the same stuff that you did as a young man. Just not gonna cut it. I mean, acquire you a skill, develop that skill, work on yourself to the point of where, because it's still a man's world last time I checked, but you're at your best when you're middle-aged. for most of us. So, you know, put the work in now. That way you'll be able to reap the fruits of your labor later. And then the last thing I'll say from a more macro perspective, and this is where it kind of gets real at, right? Is that young women like this young lady, you know, she's not dating to get engaged or get married, clearly, right? I mean, with how she evaluates even the men, you know what I mean? And you can tell from, I would argue from some of the decisions that she makes, you know what I mean, within regards to dating some of these men and stuff like that. She's not dating, again, to get engaged or to get married. So in other words, for purpose, right? She's not dating for commitment. She's dating recreationally. And you know, what's ironic that two of the biggest institutions, probably the two biggest institutions that, you know, black people, the so-called black people anyway in this country, in the West, in the United States, really need, which would be marriage and family, those two units, those two institutions. It's ironic that both of them are being targeted and, you know what I mean, just degraded. I mean, if you look at marriage, just through what they're doing through legal means and how, you know, a man really doesn't have a lot of authority, you know, at least in a lot of cases, as we're seeing, you know, and how they strip, you know, rights away, family court, and how, you know, I think majority, what is it, like 80, 90% of the custody cases, women get custody and things like that. So, and then families as well. I mean, you know, the black family, look how they've devoted, how they've torn down the black family. I mean, from every angle, you know what I mean? From, you know, our history in this country, how we've been over-sexualized, our bodies, you know what I mean, have been destroyed, and all of that. So basically all I'm saying is it's ironic that the two institutions that would help the most, which are marriage and family, are being derided, because black people, we gotta, this is gonna be an unpopular opinion, all right? But stop having sex recreationally. I said it, you know what I mean? Ultimately, do I care what you do? No, I don't care. I'm not the genital police. But if you look, I mean, 40% of black babies get aborted. It's 1,000 black babies born, aborted a day. Yeah, I said that correctly. 1,000 black babies aborted per day. So, you know, I don't want to make this sound like a bash fest or nothing like that, but at the same time, it's like, we got to get real about a lot of stuff, and there's some things that we can handle and control within our own means, right? And I mean, sex is one of those things. I mean, look, it's obviously a longer conversation that needs to be had, but what I'm saying is dating tactics like this. I mean, she's already a single mother, right? Who's still dating, so she's still spinning plates. So what does that mean? That means that, you know, her chances of finding a good man, a decent man that's actually been settled down with, as she waits longer and longer and continues to play these games, is going to diminish. And that's what happens to a lot of black women. If we're going to be real, what do they say? 1 in 4 black women are married, right? And the other 3 are not going to get married. It's because, well, it's for a lot of reasons, but I'm going to say young women like this, when you're in your youth, when you're spending up all of your youth, you know, having fun, right? Then as you get older, then the options start to shrivel, and you see, you know, things it's not what it used to be. So, you know, that's all I pretty much have to say about that. I know that got real there for a minute, but I'm not here to play, and I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. So I'll leave a couple links underneath. I'll leave a link to this video so anybody can check it out. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It does help with the algorithm and for the video to circulate. If you feel inspired to, share the video. If you want to get in touch with me, my email will be down below. If you have any comments or suggestions what you want to see next, stay tuned. Much more content to come.